load the file to stitch the back of the body next. And it has a line that goes here and a line that goes here. So we are going to cut 2 pieces of fabric to cover this section generously. So I'm going to spray some temporary spray adhesive, and all fabrics for this hooping are going to stretch across like this. So I'm going to put my fabric so that it overlaps a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here, like so. And then we're going to take the second piece of fabric and place it right side down. This one's right side up, this one's right side down, right sides together. Both of them are overlapping this line 1/2 inch and this line. And then we're going to tape in place and stitch the tack down line. Here we are back from the embroidery machine, and I just stitched the tack down lines. There's 2 of them and there's a gap in the middle. This gap is where we are going to turn the body right side out when we're done constructing it in the hoop. So I'm going to take my applique scissors, remove my tape, and we're going to trim here. And then trim here. Just like that. Now we're going to spray temporary spray adhesive here, and then unfold the top layer of fabric over and smooth it in place like this. We're going to go back to the embroidery machine. I'm going to stitch the placement lines for our straps or our suspenders. So let's do that next. Back from the embroidery machine, here is the placement lines for the straps, and so now we need our straps. Remember that we cut them on an angle, so that's how we need to place them. So we don't want them like this or like this, we want them angled. So I'm just going to place the first one and tape it in place. Now we're going to take the second one and also tape it in place. I'm trying to make sure that my straps are the same length. There we go. Now we're going to take it back to the embroidery machine and we're going to stitch each strap down one at a time. So there'll be 2 colors. So go ahead and stitch both. Here is our tack down lines for the straps. So let's go ahead and remove the tape here at the base. Now you're going to cut the fabric for the pants. So what I recommend is just cut a piece of fabric about the same size as the shirt. Again, your stretch is going to be from side to side, not from top to bottom. Pay attention to your nap. And then I'm just gonna flip it over, and we're gonna cover the strap placement lines by 1/2 inch. And we're gonna tape this in place, and then we're gonna stitch a tack down line. So I have made a mistake, and I wanted to show you how to fix it in case you make a mistake as well. There is a dart in the back of Kris Kringle's body, and I did not cut my fabric tall enough to account for the dart. So I need to remove this piece of fabric and cut a new one and restitch the tack down lines. So I'm just going to fix this really quick. I'm going to start by removing the basting stitch. And then I'll work on this one here. Okay, I have removed it, so now I can cut a new piece of fabric, and then I'll talk about the size in just a minute. We'll probably need to provide a measurement in the tutorial. Old size, new size. So let's try this again. We're gonna make sure the nap goes this way. Actually, I'm going to stop for a minute and take a picture of this fabric for the PDF tutorial. All right, let's put our fabric back in place. See, even when you make a mistake, you can fix it sometimes. We don't have to start over. Always read the tutorial or watch the video before you start your project in case something like this happens. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the machine, and I'm going to re-stitch the tack down line and the basting stitch. Okay, let's see how this turned out. Remember, I've already trimmed my red fabric. It should still have enough there to get caught by the stitching, and it looks like it did, so I'm okay. I'm just going to trim the top brown fabric. Like that. Spray some temporary spray adhesive, unfold the fabric layer, smooth it out. Now we'll go back to the machine, and we're going to do a top stitch as well as a basting stitch for the darts that we're going to sew in the back of Santa's body. Here is the top stitching for the waistband and the basting lines to fold our fabric to create the darts. So for this step, I'm going to actually use my silicone tacks, my rubber pin backs, and because it's going to be really hard to tape this fabric out of the way, So I'm just going to lift the fabric, and I'm not going to pull in the middle. I'm just going to pull on the edges. I'm going to go under the hoop and put these tacks through the stabilizer and fabric and then cap them. Just like that. And now we're going to go back to the machine. Actually, I just gotta have a wrinkle here. Now we're going to go back to the machine and we're going to stitch the darts. And we're also going to stitch another basting stitch. Here is the dart stitched and the basting line. We are not going to remove the basting line. We're just going to trim the fabric close to the darts here. And it's okay to snip the stitches right here underneath the darts. So just snip to remove those. And now you can just cut the excess fabric. Just like that. We're going to spray some more spray adhesive. We're going to remove these pins. These pins are so nice to have. The idea came from a lady in our Facebook group. She used them, and I asked her where she got them and immediately ordered some because they are such a huge help. And I've been looking for something like this for a long time. These are perfect because they're so small. They don't get in the way, and they're inexpensive, and you're not wasting tape. Just from this hooping alone, this is how much tape I have used. So it does help to, you know, if you're environmentally conscious, these are a good choice. Okay, so we're going to unfold the fabric, and it's going to catch on the basting stitch. So we're just going to unfold it like this and smooth our fabric in place. The next step, we're going to go to the machine and we're going to stitch the next placement line, which is going to be a straight line across here. And that is going to show us where we need to place the fabric for the boots. Here's the placement line for the next piece of fabric. For the boots, we're going to cut 2 pieces of fabric that will both generously cover this area. That way we can make sure that we have enough fabric. So I'm just going to take one of them. I'm going to check the nap, and then I'm going to place it so it overlaps the placement line by 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to tape it in place. Now let's go to the machine and stitch the tack down line as well as a basting stitch. Next, we're going to trim the fabric close to the tack down line right here. More spray adhesive, and then we're going to take the top layer of fabric and fold it up and over and smooth it to the stabilizer. The next step is to stitch the top stitching on the boots, as well as the curved placement line for the heels. Here is the top stitch. I'm not sure if you can see that with the black fabric. On my screen, it's very dark. Then we're gonna have this curved placement line right here for the heels. And if you want to, you can trim some of this excess fabric. Okay, then we're going to take our second piece of black fabric. Pay attention to your nap. So everything's going this way. And then we're going to place it so that the edge of this fabric overlaps the curved lines by 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter if you're using the metric system. Let's head over to the machine and stitch the tack down line. Let's trim the fabric close to this new tack down line and remove this excess. Now we're going to unfold our fabric, and you can spray some more adhesive if you want. And we're going to unfold our fabric just like so. We're going to head back to the machine and we're going to stitch 2 placement rectangles down here on the bottom. There's going to be 2 more that stitch up here, but our straps might be in the way. So we're going to stitch these first, and then we'll fold the straps down out of the way and stitch the other 2. Okay, so I've stitched, they're actually circles and not rectangles. So I stitched the 2 circles down here, and now I'm just going to loosen, remove the tape for our straps and fold them down and out of the way. Now we'll head back to the machine and we're going to stitch the 2 circles up here. Here are the other 2 placement circles or alignment circles. The next step in the file is a placement line for the arms. I'm going to go back and add an all over tack down to the whole hooping so that you have the outline of the body as a reference when you're placing your arms. But you have a choice to make. So for the next step, you have to decide whether you have or are going to use the sewn in arms for your Kris Kringle, or if you are going to attach the arms with doll joints. If you are going to do the sewn in arms, then you will stitch the placement lines where the arms are going to go, and then you'll tack them down. But if you want to attach your arms with doll joints, then you'll skip the sewn in arm steps, which is 3 colors, and you will instead stitch some support circles on each side of the body. Don't stitch both, so you'll need to choose one and only stitch one. If you're doing the sewn in arms, it's especially important that you don't stitch the support circles because they're going to show on the back of your Santa Claus, and it's not going to be pretty. So just pay attention to the tutorial and what we're doing here, And make sure that you don't accidentally stitch the wrong elements for your Santa Claus. Again, if you're doing the sewn in arms, then you're going to stitch the placement lines. And if you're doing the doll joint arms, you're going to skip the 3 colors for the lines, which are going to be curved lines on each side of the body. You're going to skip all 3 of those colors, and you're going to stitch the doll joints. Stitch the all over tack down line, which will go from this side of the body up and around to here, and then also stitch the arm placement lines here. And I suggest even trimming this excess fabric away, just so you can tape your arms in place better. So I'm just going to place this arm and tape it in place. We'll worry about the other arm in a minute, but we'll go ahead and stitch this down at the machine. So you'll stitch the tack down for the first arm, and then you will place the second arm over the other placement line and tape in place. You'll stitch the tack down for the other arm at the machine and then remove the tape from both arms. Flip both arms out of the way and tape them in place. At this time, if you chose to stitch the hollow circles on the front of the body, it's time to install your cam snaps. So just use an awl to pierce a hole in the middle of the circles and then place the shiny flat caps on the front of the body. On the back side of the body, you'll put either a male or a female part, and then you will just set each of the cams using a press or a pair of pliers. Once you have all the cam snaps for the shirt, you can also optionally use cam snaps for attaching the straps to the front of the body. This is totally optional. So instead of putting the shiny flat part on the front, you're going to put it on the back side, and then you're going to put the male or female part on the front right side of the fabric, and then you will set that with pliers or a cam press. For my final Santa Claus, I'm actually going to use buttons, so I'm going to remove those, and instead I'm going to be hand sewing buttons onto the pants. We need to flip the straps upright and tape them in place so they're out of the way of the tack down line. Now we need the front of our Santa Claus body, and we are going to align the 4 circles in the corner to the 4 circles on our back body. I'll be using the rubber silicone tacks to hold the fabric in place once I get everything aligned. Just take your time and carefully align the circles. Once you get them perfect, then you can use the tacks to keep the circles aligned. And last but not least, before we head to the embroidery machine, just make sure that your straps and your arms, if you're using the sewn-in arms, are out of the way. Head over to the machine and stitch the first tack down line. If you are working with a smaller hoop or you are concerned with bulk, then you can stitch over the areas that I'm marking with the marker on a sewing machine rather than using your embroidery machine. You would just use this line on the back side of the stabilizer as your guide to finish up your Santa Claus. But first you would tuck the arms and the straps inside the body, as I'm about to show here. You can go ahead and remove the tacks on the lower side of the body and loosen the ones on the upper side of the body so that you can flip the upper body down to be able to more easily tuck those arms and suspenders inside. Now just one at a time, tuck each suspender into the body. I'm using hemostats here so I can get them as far as I can reach, and then I can tuck the arms inside after. Now that I have everything tucked inside, I can realign the circles and repin the fabric. Stitch the top tack down line at the neck. Back at the machine, I'm going to also stitch the tack down line over each arm, and then that completes this hooping except for one final color in the stitch file, which you will not stitch out, and it just prevents the machine from returning to the center and going over any bulk. So no need to stitch the last color. Let's take everything out of the hoop. Now we'll just remove all of the stabilizer on both sides of the body. As we're removing the stabilizer, we're going to take our applique scissors and cut to remove all the basting stitches on the front and back side of the body. Now we just need to cut around the body with our scissors. Just go all the way around and just cut about 1/4 of an inch from the final tack down line. We're going to turn the body right side out. Right here through the opening on the back. So just reach inside, grab the straps. I like to start with the feet. And here's Santa's body. So it looks like I did put the magnets on the correct side, but because I was working on the arms are attached to the back of the body, I forgot to superimpose that in my mind. So just keep that in mind. You may have to turn your arms right side out and put your magnet on the other side, but I can fix that. All right. And that is our sewn in Santa body with the sewn in arms. So I'm going to be actually sewing buttons on to my suspender straps instead of using the cams. So we're just going to go around the edge of the body and get all this basting stitching out. So it'll be all along the waistband. And then don't forget to do it on the boots as well. And that's how you make Santa's body.